My curiosity with Worldtimers continues. I don't know if I'll ever buy one, and I will get into why I might never buy one, but that doesn't stop me from loving these weirdos. The Omega Worldtimers have been on my list for a while. Again, not to buy, you bunch of enablers, but to look at, and Exquisite Timepieces is the reason I have this in. Exquisite, once again, has been super cool about loaning me this watch, so I'm going to put a link to this watch in the video's description, and you can join me in my high-stakes game of hovering over the Buy Now button. Watches like this, Worldtimers, are really appealing to me, which is unusual because I just don't care about most things, but I really enjoy seeing what time it is in different places in the world. And not just enjoy, but I often need to know. My job, which thankfully is not this YouTube channel, requires a lot of collaboration with people across the globe, so I often need to know what time it is in Shanghai and London and New Delhi. And the New Delhi one is too bad because New Delhi is in one of those 30-minute offset time zones, and I've never really seen an analog Worldtimer that can correctly display things like that. But I'm getting ahead of yourself. Omega Seamaster Aqua Terra 150-meter Worldtimer, because how can you master the seas without timing the world? Also Terra and Aqua. I may never understand Omega's taxonomical logic, but I don't need to understand it to enjoy this watch. There are now a bunch of Worldtimers from Omega. For a while, there was only the dark blue reference, but now there's a light blue 75th anniversary Seamaster edition, and there's the green dial with a ceramic bezel, and even a titanium reference also with a ceramic bezel. This green big boy comes on a rubber strap for $10,700 or this bracelet for $10,900. I mean, it is a big boy. All the Omega Worldtimers are the same dimensions, 43 millimeters in diameter, 14.3 millimeters thick, 50 millimeters long from lug to lug, and they take 21 millimeter straps. 150 meters of water resistance for all your Seamastering needs. On the full bracelet, this weighs about 160 grams. 126 grams on the Omega rubber strap. The movement inside this watch is the caliber 8938. It has 60 hours of power reserve and a lot more going on. We'll get into that. But let's talk about what I think is most people's first concern with this watch. First concern after the fact that it costs $11,000 and it can't even count your steps. And that concern is the size. So my wrist is 7 inches around. That's about 18 centimeters. People ask me that a lot, and I have a trick to help you remember. There are 13 letters in the title of this channel, 13 letters in You're Terrific. Now take that number 13, throw it away, and then replace it with the number 7. 7 inches. Follow me for more memory hacks. I like this 43 millimeter diameter on my what? 7-inch wrist. Now you're getting it. The 50 millimeter length just barely sorta doesn't hang over the edges of my wrist, and I think I'm most surprised by the fact that the thickness, the 14.3 millimeters, it's not an issue at all. I think that has to do with proportions. My experience is that a 39 millimeter watch that's 14.3 millimeters thick, that's just a bit too much. It can feel top heavy. But on a 43 millimeter watch, the weight is better distributed. Now, for $200 extra, you get the bracelet instead of the rubber strap. And I guess you'd call that a deal, but I'm still not a fan of the Aqua Terra bracelets. I wish they tapered more, and I don't like the polished center links. I've been careful with this watch, but even wearing this only a few times in my watch dungeon, it's covered in smudges and even picked up a few tiny scratches, so sorry, Exquisite Timepieces. These polished center links are as delicate and impressionable as me reading YouTube comments. And this bracelet does not have the new Aqua Terra micro adjustment system that's only on the newest Aqua Terra watch, this black one. I'm not sure if Omega is going to retrofit all the Aqua Terras with this system. I hope they do. So I don't know, even as a bracelet guy, I might prefer this watch on a strap. But let's talk about what makes this is what it be, a Worldtimer. This dial shows the time in 24 time zones, which aren't all the time zones in the world, depending on how you define a time zone. Anyway, there are more. The ring near the center of the dial shows 24 hours and splits them into night and day with the two colors. Then looking out to the edge of that ring, there are gold triangles and then the dial's hour markers. These are used to show you what time it is in each of the cities listed around the edge of the dial. The way I set this watch is first by setting the 24-hour ring. So I know it's 1 a.m. in London, which is at the bottom of the dial, so I set that, and then I set my local time with the hands. My local time is 4 p.m., because I'm in Alaska, which is not a city, and also I'm not there anyway, but we can pretend. The hour hand also sets the date at 6 o'clock, and that's how most, if not all, modern Omegas work with a date complication. I mentioned that I've never seen an analog Worldtimer properly do those 30-minute time zones. They're also not great at summertime or daylight saving time changes. In our modern age, not every time zone springs forward or falls back once per year. And even those time zones that do, don't always do it on the same day. So for example, there are a couple of weeks per year when London and New York are only 4 hours different rather than the usual 5 hours different. That's just not something this watch or most analog Worldtimers even try to account for. But as with all mechanical watches, if you're looking for function first, maybe look elsewhere. May I suggest a smartwatch or an abacus? All the world timing that is possible with this watch is thanks to the caliber 8938. Like I said, it has 60 hours of power reserve and it's certified as a master chronometer, which Omega has been all over. Accurate to +5 seconds per day, anti-magnetic to 15,000 Gauss, and a 5-year warranty. And of course, it uses a coaxial escapement, which should reduce the need for maintenance. I wish I could find a way to reduce my own maintenance needs, am I right? Anyway, a couple things on the flip side that I want to get back to. First is the ceramic bezel. It's kind of still unusual to see a non-rotating ceramic bezel, but you know what? I like it. It cuts down on the flashiness that you get with the other Omega Worldtimers, the ones with polished metal bezels. And it also means that the bezel isn't going to get all scratched up. Polished center links, I'm looking at you. And then on the center of the dial, the very cool world map as seen from the North Pole, and fully embracing the flat Earth conspiracy theories. This map is created with a process called laser ablation, which means that the laser removes some top layers and exposes the layers underneath. It's a really nicely done ablation, and I'm quite the ablation snob. It doesn't matter that I just learned that word 3 days ago. Ablation. I don't know, despite the limited functionality of Worldtimers and despite their prices usually, I'm still really into these busy watches. I think even if I didn't need to know many world times at once, which I do because I'm very important, but even if I didn't, I just like the reminder that the world's a big place and maybe hopefully, I'm not the center of it.